Hello, happy Sunday night. I am really excited to be here with you. Hopefully, you are having a great Sunday and having a chance to kind of unwind. I'm wondering, tell me how your kind of like your week is. For some of you, maybe you're back in school already. Some of you, maybe not. Maybe you're inching out those last few days of summer vacation. I hope so. Hopefully, you're making the most of it. So, let's see what's happening here in Colorado. We are just busy running around. I look a little rough. I just got out of the basement. Goes down and do some work. So anyhow, came running up here, and I'm really excited to start this again. Tonight's Facebook Live is just going to be me. I'm not going to have a special guest, but I wanted to touch base because I just finished the Science of Reading webinar series, and I know a lot of you attended that. But sometimes when that happens, you sit down and you start thinking about it and you get more and more questions. So I wanted to touch base with you and see if you had some questions. I had two specific questions that I wanted to share with you that I got in an email. And then if you have any other ones, just go ahead and put your name in there. Now, depending on where you're commenting from, I may be able to see your name, or it might just say Facebook user, which always feels a little creepy to me. But anyhow, I know that you guys aren't creepy, but I'm always like, who is that? I wonder who it is. And then I go and look, I'm like, oh, those are my favorite people. So I just wanted to kind of address two questions that I got. Well, actually, there's like more than two, but two have it's like a two-part one. So one question that I got was, where do we know where to start with the decodable books? And so because it's not the same as a guided reading level, we are oftentimes so accustomed in guided reading to do a running record and see how the student does, and then adjust the text accordingly. It's not going to be that much different, except for we're not going to have a running record in the traditional sense. We're going to have some data that we're collecting in our whole group lessons. Remember, we're really not going to start doing, we really aren't going to start, hi, Palma, we're really not going to start the year doing small group anyhow, right? So for your first 4 to 6 weeks, what you're going to want to do is you're going to be giving those whole group lessons, and you're going to be doing tons of observations. And you're going to know at the end of that 6 week where kind of your students are. You're going to know those, let's say you're teaching first grade. You'll know the students who have mastered all the letter sounds. You'll know the students who might need some extra instruction with that. You know the students who were just way, beyond that. And that's going to help you know where to start the instruction. And really what you'll need to do is take a look at what phonics skills have they mastered. If they have the CVC, you can even give them like a quick test. They have lots of different kind of quick tests that you can give where it's just like it's like a spelling test, but it's not really a spelling test, just a set of words that you're going to give them, dictate to them and see what they do. If you have, there's so many of them. Wiley Blevins, if you have his book, I just put it away because I had it out forever. But if you have either of these two books, there are some quick assessments that they have in there that will give you an idea of kind of what phonics skills your student has mastered and what they haven't. Same thing with Words Their Way. There's a bunch in there as well. Fresh Look at Phonics has also some kind of quick assessments that you can do that'll give you an idea of which phonics skills they have under their belt and which ones they are still acquiring. I'm going to go ahead and bring this up so I can kind of show you what I mean. So for one student, you're going to give them, you're going to give like 5 different words, and then you're going to see kind of what happens when they spell those words. So again, there's some suggestions in this book as well as in this book, or you can also just use your observations that you have and you're noticing in your own classroom. The other question that I have, so that's one of them. You're going to make sure that you're doing lots of observations, figuring out what phonics skills they have, and then you're going to try out a book, and you're going to know whether that's going to work or not, right? Because you'll start it out, and if they aren't able to decode those words after you kind of you've been into those texts for a little bit, So let's say I sit down with a student and they're doing a CBC book. And the first time they might be a little apprehensive because the procedure is all brand new. But the next time I go to work with them with the same CBC book, if they're still struggling, that means that they may not be ready for that big of a chunk yet. Okay. So Deb, you wanted to know, is there a sequence in which those decodable books go in? And it's really hard to let go of our guided reading level text brain. I totally get that. Yeah, those books are in order. So if, which you're probably like, well, what order? So when you go into like the product description, those are the order that you would teach them. So you would start with the alphabet books. Maybe not everybody needs the alphabet books. Then you're going to go to the CBC books, and then so on and so forth. So, and then one book builds upon the other, right? So the CBC with the silent E is going to encompass the skills previously taught. And then you'll want to teach the books in order. So book 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on in that series is where you're going to want to, that's the order in which they go. What we're going to expect the first time they go through and do that decoding, we're going to expect a little bit of hesitancy as they learn to blend. But over time, then that's going to become a little bit more automatic for them. So we're not going to be looking for that fluency necessarily initially right off that you would see maybe in a guided reading text, because they're not guessing the words. They're looking through each letter and blending those sounds together. Okay, so it's going to be a little bit different. But if they're at a frustration level, then that's clearly not the right book for them, right? So you're going to let your students kind of tell you what's the appropriate book for them. And you're going to help put the right book in their hand based on what you're observing. Okay, so that was one question. The other question is, what do I do with all my other level text? You know, I've been doing guided reading since, way back when. And now you have all these level texts that you've either acquired or purchased or made yourself. Just put those in your classroom library. I mean, they're not evil. They're not evil texts. I don't think anytime a student's interested in a book, that's a good thing, right? But if they're picking up a level text and they want to use that as one of the books that they can read most of the words or read it in a different way, I think that's a great idea to let them have that. We would never ask a student who is looking at Lily's purple plastic purse to put that down because it's not a decodable text, right? They're reading it in a different way. So that's literacy is still good. But you wouldn't want to use the level text for instruction, right? So you would use your decodable text for instruction, and then those level texts are something that they can pick up based on their interest level. So that's kind of what you're going to do with your level text. I want to check in and see if there are any other questions. I'll go ahead and check my email real quick because I know that as we get closer, I get some more emails asking about it, about various things. But, you guys are really good. So it looks like I've gotten through most of the questions. But it was funny because I received several questions kind of around the same way, the same type of thing. And with your decodable book, the individual ones, you're going to invite students to read those multiple times. It's not going to be a one and done thing. In fact, you might stay with that book for the whole week. Or you may even go longer than that, depending on the student. There's lots and lots of practice in there. And so there's a lot of things that a student can benefit from repeated readings. The other thing is that if you need to break the instruction of that book into 2 chunks, maybe your small group time is a little more precious than other times of your day. Maybe you don't have as much time, but you want to maybe get in 2 groups. Kind of what research is telling us is if you have 30 minutes and you're going to meet with a student, it's better to maybe divide that up into shorter chunks. So that might be an option for you. Maybe 15 minutes for the first half, and then the next day you could do the second half for 15 minutes. So that might be an option for you as well. So feel like you can be flexible. Don't feel like you have to get through the entire small group book because, they're going to have multiple opportunities to read it. Katie, I'm looking at your question here. So it seems like you've updated the alphabet charts with not just the pictures, but the letters with the actual path of motion. I'm trying to find out which product that's in. Do you happen to remember planning on reprinting? Oh, I know. Don't you hate that? You don't want to reprint, right? let's see. In our engaging readers, Deanna and I have our phonics units in there, and so there are cards in there, but we updated those. I'm going to say like 3 years ago, so those have not changed. Um, Trying to think if there's something else that maybe you're thinking of. And Kate, you know what? Sometimes I need to see what you're talking about. So that if you have a picture of something that's old and send it to me and say, did you update this? Then I can kind of help you. I do have a product that is called Make It Neat. That is a handwriting kind of curriculum. And but those pictures haven't been changed for quite a few years, so that's okay. I don't think that's going to be the one that you're talking about. But if you want to either take a picture and drop it in the chat, that would work as well. If you have it, maybe a screenshot, something like that. Um, yeah, you're thinking maybe the alphabet cards, but I don't think it's really been changed. So, I mean, not too much. Maybe the alphabet cards. Thanks, Jackie. Or you could be through. Yeah. So yeah, make it neat. So all you have to do is just reprint that. Oh, you have it, but that's not it. So maybe just okay. So if you think of it, you know where to find me. Just email me, and I'll help you find out where that goes. Do I have a checklist with all your decodables that we can use to track the books that students have read? I do not. But Angie, that is a brilliant idea, and that is easy enough for me to do. So what I want to do is just really quick put that on my workboard, because if I don't, you know what's going to happen? I will forget. So let me just go ahead and put that on my workboard so that I can put that down as something that I would get done by December. So add list of decodable books for unit. Okay, I have a note in there. I'll get that done for you. Because I do think that would be helpful. And kind of what I'm imagining, Angie, is I could have the book titles down one side and then the names, a spot for you to put the student names across the top, right? Would that work? And maybe enough room so you could put the date for each of those. What do you think? Does that sound like a good idea? That's an easy add. I can just add that to the bundle. That would be a really, really easy add to do. So I'm happy to do that. I know that I didn't finish it yet, but I wanted to do those easy path of motion that I promised Jenny Booth, and I just totally forgot. I started working on an airplane, and then my computer battery kind of pooped out on me. And so then I was like, okay, I put it away. And then I like literally put it away in my head. So I will get started on those this week. I'll have those added to the whole group instruction by Friday, or you can take away my birthday. How's that sound? I'm talking about the ones that are kind of the big set that we have. I'll go ahead and drop a link in here so you can find it. It has 175 decodable books. So let me just grab that link for you so you can find it. Yeah, I am actually pretty excited. We have some pretty big news coming. I don't think I'm ready to disclose it quite yet, but I'm pretty excited about those. And there you go. There's the link right there. That's what I'm talking about. So those are books that have been kind of aligned, not kind of aligned. They've been aligned with the science of reading. So those have been really, really a labor of love, and we are on the downward motion of it. Yeah, the new just have letters, but not the path of motion. But yeah, they are. I'm kind of wondering. Maybe we could get a picture for that from Kate, because I am happy to see if I can track that down. And I know that a lot of times I'll see things and I'm like, that looks like ours, but it's not ours, because sometimes people, have things that look similar, and so sometimes people get those kind of swaps. So if there's something that I need to work on, just let me know. Yeah, Leslie and I have become email friends, right? So Leslie says, I already told you I'm overwhelmed about where to start first grade at the beginning of the year. It is, here's kind of the problem that you're all feeling. You're all feeling a little bit in this aspect like a first year teacher. If you haven't taught this way before, it feels like you're doing something completely different and that you'll never get the routine, right? Or you'll never know, you won't feel that comfort zone. But what I want to reassure you is that you will. There's in the lesson plans that we talked about, but in the lesson plans, there are all of these. I'm looking at the kindergarten one, right? Becky, I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I had a great time too. So here are all these sections, right, that you'll do each day, right? And so let's imagine it's your first week of school and you have your students sitting in the chair and you feel like you're winning, right? Because you just have them sitting in the chair. Maybe you just do the first week of school. Maybe you just do this section, right? The PowerPoint slide. And maybe you just do the alphabet with them, right? Maybe you do that section and maybe the green section. And that's it for the first 2 days. Then you can add on. What you want to make sure that you do is you want to get started. So you want to start something within this, right? Instead of saying, ooh, that seems like a lot. I'll start that later. Because you know what will happen? It'll be December and you're like, oh, I never did that. And now I don't know where to begin. So what I will say is set aside time every day to get started. It does not mean that you have to have mastery, right? So just do part of it. And then maybe the next week, do 2 more parts, right? Now you do this part and this part and this part. And by the time you get to 4 weeks, you should be having all of those sections in that lesson plan and you should be good to go, right? You'll feel a lot more comfortable if you do it that way. That way you as the instructor, as a teacher, will get the routine down correctly, right? Because it's not, it may not be something that you've done before. Probably not, right? And it for your students as well. So just give yourself some grace. But what I will say, get started. Is it okay to start reviewing 2 consonants every day? Well, Leslie, what we recommend in first grade is that you're reviewing a lot more than that, right? You're reviewing like 15 consonants and vowels every day, right? So Monday, if you look through those slide decks, you'll see that there are slide decks that have 15 to 20 consonant sounds. Now, Leslie, it might sound like this. You might be doing it with them. If you're concerned that your whole class in first grade doesn't know their consonants, that's first of all, that is concerning that that's what you might have. But if you're teaching in a special services classroom, then of course that could be it. Or if you're teaching kindergarten, that could be it, right? Obviously, kindergarten, they come in knowing nothing, but not nothing, but they don't know as much as they would in first grade. But in first grade, your students should know consonants. Maybe some of those vowels might be a little iffy. They should know most of their letters and sounds. If not, I would find out kind of what's happening in kindergarten. I would be very concerned if they don't know their consonants. So during that drill time, you're going to want to take the PowerPoint slide that has, 15 letters on there, and you might be doing it with them, right? Your voice might be loud with them. But I would be doing that. I wouldn't be saying, and I don't know what you mean by review, but I wouldn't be saying this is the letter M. M makes this sound, right? I don't think that you need to go to that level in first grade. Your assessments will tell you what they know and what they don't know. But I would be surprised if you would have to go that far back in first grade, right? So what I would do is I would start, even if you look at the first week of, I have first grade lessons right here. Deb, so yeah, you're in British Columbia, so your first grade is more like our kindergarten, right? So Leslie, I was thinking you were in the US, but if I'm wrong, then absolutely you're going to have to go back a little bit. So here's week 1 of first grade, and you're just doing the slide decks, and then you're doing the green part, and then for the dictation, you're only doing letter sounds anyhow. So that's going to definitely make that introduction a lot easier. But maybe you're feeling like, I know that I should be starting this on week 1, but I'm not quite ready for that. So I'm just going to do the pink part this week. And then next week, I'll repeat the pink part and then go on to the other parts. I think sometimes we we have to get comfortable with the procedure. We, as the instruction deliverer, the teacher, we have to be really comfortable. So if you need to slow down to go fast, I'm totally fine with that. There's no problem with that. We don't have to rush into anything. Okay. Meaning we don't have to do it all. But what we do want to do is get started. So even if that's a quick 5-minute lesson, you are good to go. I'm playing with my duct tape here. Why am I playing with my duct tape? I don't know. But hopefully that answers your question. Okay. The other question I had was about writer's workshop. And so the question, it wasn't really a writer's workshop question, it was about journal writing. So, Lucia, your question is, I may have missed your answer to this, but do you start the Not Your Mother's Sight Words with kinders on day one, even when they don't know any letters and sounds? No problem. Wi-Fi issues are the thing that makes me crazy. So hopefully it's not making you crazy. Okay. So in the lesson plans, in the instructions, there's a section, a read me first section, and it talks about how to coordinate your phonics instruction with these lessons. Okay. So when we're looking at week 1 of these lessons, it's really week 2 of the phonics instruction. So last week, I taught my students BTAH, right? And we worked on BTAH Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And now the following Monday, I'm going to start with this lesson. Okay, so this is reviewing what we taught last week. Okay, so they don't know any sounds. Maybe all of your students don't know any letters and sounds. Maybe that happens. But by the end of the week, BTAH have been taught. And then you're going to start reviewing those Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Okay. And then the next week, week 2 of these lessons, you'll be reviewing what you taught in week 2 of the phonics, right? So it's going to lag a week behind. Does that make sense? You can't review something that you haven't taught, is guess what I'm saying. These are all meant to be reviewing things that have been previously taught. With the exception of, the sight words are going to be taught within this, but for the sounds, you're going to be reviewing things that you previously taught. And then, you'll teach that phonics instruction is going to happen in your phonics part of your lessons. And then this is part of your review. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense to you. If not, put a little note in here. So the other question that somebody was asking me was about writing instruction. She wanted to know about where writing prompts came in the instruction. In fact, I think I printed out the question. Maybe I didn't. Her question was, during writing prompts, do you, spell for students and those sorts of things? Those who have known me for a while know that I don't spell for students in Writer's Workshop, like ever. So, and with prompt writing, I wouldn't spell for them either. So if you're giving them a prompt to respond to, that I use prompts for students to respond to in response to reading a book. So if we read a book that I want them to respond to, then they have a question that they're going to respond to. Does that make sense? But I'm not going to give students a prompt that says, write about your favorite blah, 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 because really best practices don't support that. So we wouldn't necessarily do that. So, okay. Right. So we wouldn't want to give them, instead of having, if we're short on time, right, and we have to choose between giving students a writing prompt for them to kind of free write about versus writing in Writer's Workshop where they have to come up with their own subject, they're better to come up with their own subject. We don't want to do for students things that students can do on their own. That's a whole other, I think we did 3 days of Writer's Workshop webinar, right? So, but if our choices are, we can do prompt writing or we could do writer's work. Why am I playing with this? We can do prompt writing, we can do writer's workshop. I choose writer's workshop, in which students are very independent. Obviously, all your lessons have to be about building that independence, but we don't spell for them at that time. Okay. I've actually got these at Target, and I thought they'd be really cool for stretching out sounds. So if you don't have a Target, I think you can find these like at the Dollar Tree, but they're like little fidget things. And I thought that they would be a really cool thing for stretching out sounds. I think students would really like that. I think they will make you crazy, but I think students might like that at your small group table. That might be a really fun thing for them to do. I got to spend, Becky's here, and I got to spend 3 hours. Oh, mini slinkies are fun too. 3 hours with her school giving an in service. So that was really, really fun. We did that on Friday. And it was wonderful. So I really, really enjoyed that training her, a group of, I'm going to kind of guess that there was probably 45 teachers there, just based on kind of the orders and stuff that you guys sent in. Probably about 45 teachers or more. So I was really lucky. Thanks for sharing your time. The mini slinkies are fun. They are. Also, those little pop socket, fidget pop things are also kind of a fun thing for them to do. Another thing that's kind of fun for blending is getting those tap lights. I've been using those way back when, and now I'm seeing them resurface again as a suggestion. So I really like those. So hopefully you have seen those as well. Let's see if there's any other questions. We've been going about 25 minutes. Next week, I'm going to have my friend Adam. No, I'm not having Rebecca with me. She's going to talk about some hands-on learning. She is a special education teacher, really just a fun person. So she's going to give some ideas for some hands-on learning. In my newsletter, I sent out ways that you guys can get notifications. So if you are on Facebook, you can go ahead. I will put the notice out there. I can only schedule so many in advance, but I'll put a notice on there, and there's like a little star that allows you to, if you click on that, it'll send you a reminder when I start. But the other option is if you're on my Facebook page, you can follow and check your follow settings where you can follow like basically everything. Up to 5 posts a day, which makes me laugh. I'm like, I'm not going to be posting 5 times a day. So I'm lucky if I post once a day on my Facebook page. So, but that was one way that you can get notifications. And then if you're watching on YouTube, there is also a subscribe, which sounds really official. Make sure you're logged into your Google account. And then if you hit subscribe and hit that little bell, after you hit that subscribe, it'll send you a notification when I'm doing a live. So that will help you to kind of get here live for the lives. If that's something, if you have a question that you want to ask, or if there's something you want to do. So Jennifer, the videos, they are, well, one, they're linked in Vimeo in the music videos. The other thing is that you actually get the videos as well. So you can, if you want to use them like in Seesaw, then they're linked to Vimeo. If you want to use them like the video jukebox, they're linked in video, but I've also included the actual videos there. So you'll just have, now I have 2 of these stuck together. So you'll just have access to those. So some schools, the reason why I did that, some schools block YouTube and some schools block Vimeo, which is probably really frustrating for a lot of you, but then that way you have them. Okay. And also if you're on Heidi's songs, she has a subscription model. Our poetry songs are in there. So that's another option for you as well. In fact, I was just looking through an old blog post that I'm getting ready to update, and I was like looking at the clip art and stuff. I'm like, oh, I remember when I made these, are so fun. Each of those are original. So I wrote those. First set I wrote in 2012, and I think the second one I wrote in 2015. And I just, I really loved how they came out, and I love the response that teachers have from them. I know my students looked forward to every Monday when they had the new poem of the week. And so having the tune, if sometimes I can't get the tune, and so it's nice to have it recorded, right? You have it. You know what? I haven't looked. She just sent me. Heidi just sent me some like directory. So if you just put in my name, just put in DD Wills, it should pop up. Those are the poetry ones are the only ones that I have in there. So it's put in my name, DD Wills, and they should pop up. It's hot here today, you guys. I'm like so hot. So If you get stuck though, Deb, let me know, and I can get you in touch with them over there. But if you don't have the Heidi Songs subscription, I do have a coupon. You could get $10 off. I think it's $10 off. Like the worst person ever. But I really love, her letter sound videos are great. Some of those are just a lot of fun. So, and then all of the poetry ones are in there as well, which we redid some of those videos. So, we're really happy with those. Okay, what else? I will come back and check the chat tomorrow. So if there's any questions you want me to make sure I talk about next week, I'm really happy to do that. But I'm also really happy to have my good friend Rebecca Poe join me. So she's, like I said, she's she's not second grade. She's a special education teacher. And she's going to really be talking about some fun hands-on learning. So I'm really excited about that. You're going to check with my schedule on my blog, but you're wondering the order to teach all the curriculum. Example, phonics lessons, sight words, knowing the order present still confuses me. Susan, I'm wondering, are you asking me like what does a day look like, or which sounds to teach first? Let me know. I'm going to hang out for your answer. How do you get motivated to get back in the classroom? That's a really, really good question. Oh, wait, but mine was a multiple choice. So, Susan, are you asking me the letter order? Say letter order, or what does my day look like? If you could put that, then that will help you. What does a day look like? Okay, so on my blog, I have a really kind of a detailed post of when I say phonics, this is what I mean. When I say this is what I mean. And I can go ahead and drop a link in there. Sweet Jackie was here, Jackie Barton, my good friend from Oregon as well. So if she's still here, she's probably beat me to it. But I'm going to go ahead and find it right now, and I'll drop it in there. I would do a share the screen, but it's always kind of hard for me to do in this format. It's easier when I do the webinars, but in this format, it's just challenging. So let me go ahead. I got to find where y'all are. Oh, I got it, Jackie. Thank you, friend. So I just dropped the link in there. And that's kind of, now, y'all know I'm not in the classroom, right? I'm not in the classroom full time, but I do spend a lot of time working with teachers, talking with them about their schedules and such. So, and then of course going in and kind of working those kinks out. So this is what I have found has worked. So I'll just go ahead and drop that across the top here, but there it is, Miss Will's Kindergarten, and then it's that's the URL for it. But if you look in the comments there, you can find it. Okay, Vicki, how do you get motivated to get back in the classroom? It is really hard when you have come off of a really hard year, right? It's hard to get your energy up. One of the things, I always like to read a book that's about teaching, that's uplifting, that gives me something new that I can try, something that maybe was, if you found that a certain type of instruction was really challenging for you, or maybe a certain type of behaviors you're noticing that was really challenging for you, to find a book that's going to help support you, I think is one thing that's really helpful. Chocolate's also helpful, but thank you, friend. But that kind of would be what my suggestion is. I always read Debbie Diller's book, Making the Most of Small Group. I think I would probably change that to this book right now is the one that I really feel like gives me so many aha moments, and it's just perfect for this age group that we're all teaching, K1, 2, because it really breaks down. Sometimes we feel like, I know there's times when I felt like I was really teaching best practices. I was doing the things, right? And then there's just these slight tweaks that we need to do to go from good to really effective. And so he really does break it down. And as you can see, I've written all through this book. It's one that yeah, I've gone through, and honestly, every time I read it, um, I get a little nugget out of there, and then it makes me kind of excited to try it out. So I don't know if that helps you. I might be a nerd. I'm a nerd, but that might help you. If that's something that doesn't isn't something that's going to really spark you, maybe read something about some kind of chicken soup for the teacher soul. That might give you some kind of feeling of connecting you with the reason why you became a teacher in the first place. Even though things feel really hard right now, I'm hoping that we can turn the corner. But I know that there's teacher shortages are real, so I know it may be a challenging year again. You really like the configuration of your classroom setup with new picture books, and this year new materials and secret stories is amazing. Lots of things to look forward to. So I know I'm the same way, Deb. I think you and I might be twins separated at birth because I get really nerdy excited about new things. Like I get really excited. I'm like, oh, I can't wait to try this. I can't wait to see how it works. Or if I set up a new little area in my classroom that I knew my students were going to really love, I like doing that as well. But you know what? Not everybody has the same, processes. Not everybody gets excited by Ticonderoga pencils, right? Like that might just be me. But you know, I think sometimes like finding I don't want to say finding joy because that sounds really simplistic because I know that's not simple. But remembering those reasons why you chose the profession and trying to reflect on those moments where you've felt that mental reward. Oftentimes, you get it from your students, right? You may not get it from the public, but maybe you got it from the public, which is great. But just know that, you know, your jobs are very important. And maybe, maybe this year will be better. I hope it will be better than it was last year. I know that behaviors were quite a big issue. One thing I would suggest doing with starting your year off, I think what I'm hearing from a lot of teachers is they started the year kind of ready to get back to normal. And then they got back to normal and they were like, wait a minute, this isn't normal, right? And the students, they just didn't have the self-regulation that you would normally see from that age group. And so it was sort of, they got started. And then about 4 weeks in, they realized, oh, this is really, it's not getting better. Maybe give yourselves the idea that you're going to really go slow at the beginning to make sure that you get students in a position to be self-regulated. You're planning out poems each week and gives me something to look forward to, and the engaging readers. Oh, I'm so glad. I love those little interactive read alouds that we have. I was just looking at The Dot. It's such a fun book, and so yeah, those are some fun things. New picture books that came out this summer. Somebody suggested this one. Let me just make a mess. Oh, it would help if I had my light on. Oh, what? So that was good. I have a couple, and I don't know if they're brand new or just new to me. But here's a couple that I got. This is by Jacqueline Woodson. It's been out for just a little bit, but it's beautiful. It's by the illustrations of Rafael Lopez, and I think you guys know that I just think he's the coolest guy ever. So it was a stuck inside kind of day, and it was using their imagination. And I think this is just a beautiful illustration. I think, there's always, some people are stuck inside, during the pandemic, or some people are stuck inside for bad weather. So this is a really, really great one. This is one, and one of you all recommended. So it's called I Forgive Alex. It's written by the same person who did the Vanessa book. I walk with Vanessa. And this is about, it's again a wordless book. So many great pictures in here that tell the story, but somebody makes a mistake and it ruins somebody, like, I think it's bouncing the ball and it ruins somebody's artwork and knocks it into the water. And it's about forgiving when somebody makes a mistake. So I think that's a really good one. It might be a good one to start the year off with, about, understanding that we're not all going to be mistakeless, right? We're going to have some mistakes and we need to move on. This is a really simple book. I don't know if it's been around for a long time. It's called A Seed by Antoinette Portis, but I think it would be a cool one for life cycles. And like I said, it's very, very simple. It wouldn't be one, but the illustrations are really cool. So if you're wanting to study the life cycle of a sunflower, a lot of people do that in the fall. So a seed and settles into the soil, and then the sun. It's just, I'm going through the pages, but it's super simple. But I think it would be a really cool one for students to be able to look at. This is a follow-up from Unicorns Are the Worst, so Dragons Are the Worst. It's pretty funny as well. So I liked that one. Deanna and I talked about making another engaging reader to go with that. We might do it. And then this is The World Belonged to Us. And it's by Jacqueline Woodson also. But I don't know why I love it so much. I guess probably because it reminds me, look at the hair and stuff. And it reminds me of the era in which I was growing up. And so you kind of have that, hippie kind of era. So it's about the summer, and living in the city. I didn't grow up in the city, but it's about living in New York City. I just think it's a really fun, imaginative book about summer. Might be something for the end of the year. Okay. Did you get the new order of letters and content from IMSC Comprehensive Plus? No. I did not. We actually had that kind of in place before that. So, Deanna, if we can kind of go backwards in time, we'd already known that we wanted to kind of change our scope and sequence order a little bit. And so this is pandemic year, right? And so she was in that Facebook group showing, okay, this is what we're thinking, and people were giving feedback, and this is what I was thinking in the primary collaborative Facebook group. And people were responding until we had it right. And then we went to the IMSE training, and I was like, oh my gosh, if we have to change that scope and sequence, we were at this point, we were like gonna cry, right? And so one of the questions I asked is there a set scope and sequence for science of reading? Like, is there an approved method, approved path, scope and sequence? And they said no. In fact, their scope and sequence might be different than another Orton Gillingham approved kind of program, and another one would be different. So it did make me really, really happy to know that we didn't have to change that. But it also, she just said, make sure that you have, a reason that you're teaching the letters in the way that you do, and that you want to make sure that you have letters that you could be used to start blending right away. So that's why we don't teach them in alphabetical order, because we really would have a hard time if we taught them in alphabetical order. We have A, B, C, D. We wouldn't have as many words that we could, do. So alphabetical order, maybe there's some research that shows that that's a great way to go, but we instead decided to take the recommendations from the other science of reading books that we've read that said, make sure that you introduce letters that would allow you to start blending right away. I'm so glad you love. I love looking at these books. I'll try to keep an eye out also for some other ones as they come in. I love that book, I Really Want the Cake. I feel like that's about me. Deb, have you seen that book? It's really, really cute. It would be a great one to use for Writer's Workshop. I'll grab it real quick. What I really need to do is maybe do a blog post about it, because this book is amazing. So she smells cake and thinks she might want cake. but it's on the table and she's not supposed to have it, but she really wants the cake, but she smells the cake. You must not eat the cake. And then all of a sudden she loses it and she eats it all, right? Anyhow, I think it's really funny. And I also kind of feel like it might be about me. My self-control. I'm like, chocolate cake, I'm on it. So anyhow. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. We've been going about 45 minutes. I'm happy to answer any other questions. But if we are about done, then I'm going to go ahead and say good evening. I know it's super cute. I love it too. You guys have a great night and have a great week. And of course, you always know where to reach me if you have any questions. Just send an email my way and I'm happy to answer that. You guys have a great night. I'll talk with you soon. Bye-bye.